So in the past 3 years, prices of homes have increased significantly. Sellers right now really want to take advantage of that increase in equity that they've found in their home in the last 3 to 5 years. Some of the things that sellers voice as concerns to us as real estate agents is that will they be able to find a house because they know the listing inventory is low. And that means there aren't enough houses to sell to all the buyers that have a need. If they're going to become the buyer, they want to know that they're going to be able to find a place. So something that I find really encouraging about the Maine real estate market in general is that we're seeing 400, 500, 600, 700, 800 homes a week coming on the market. In the summer months, we see upwards of 800 houses coming on the market each week. So we can really reassure those sellers that there is going to be a home for them to purchase. And even if there's a tight squeeze on the time frame, there are great short-term rental options, hotels with long-term stay options. We can really help those sellers with those transitions. Sellers are also concerned about high interest rates. Now, historically speaking, interest rates are at an average right now, a historical average. Interest rates in 1981, 1982, 11%, 14%, 18%. Yes, from a historical perspective, we're at an historical average, but when we look at just 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, we were looking at 2.5, 3.75, 4% interest rates, and those were historically low interest rates. So when we look at the recent history, people get a little anxious about how much more that interest rate is by comparison. So one of the huge advantages of a seller having a lower interest rate is if they have an FHA or a VA mortgage, that rate is assumable by a buyer, and a buyer might find that to be extremely valuable. They might be willing to pay a little bit more for that property. Maybe that seller has a 3.75 interest rate on an FHA loan that they got 10 years ago. That portion of the mortgage that remains is something that they'll be able to pass on to that buyer if that buyer qualifies. And then the buyer just has to get a second mortgage at the new interest rate for whatever's remaining. So let's say a seller has a $250,000 house and they've been paying it down over the years and there's $150,000 remaining on the mortgage. If they had a 3.75% FHA financing loan, they'll find that a buyer who could qualify for that same loan can assume that $150,000 and only have to come up with a mortgage at the higher interest rate for $100,000. So it can be a real savings for someone over time.